What's going on, everybody? This is Nick Tatro with the Music Impact Network. If you don't know, the Music Impact Network is a community of after-school music teachers and professionals. If you'd like to become a part of this community, you can find the Music Impact Network Facebook group and connect with hundreds of like-minded after-school music professionals. The conversation you're about to hear is one between myself and Sarah Khatami, who works in Waltham, Massachusetts, teaching music after school at a Boys and Girls Club. We have a great conversation about what it means to be a teaching artist and how your passion as an artist can come into your work teaching after school. Sada talks a lot about how social justice is important to her as an artist. She's now able to have those conversations with youth in her program and channel it into something creative through music. Check out the conversation. I know that in your artistic, musical career, you do a lot of songwriting, and social justice is really important to you. Can you talk about how you bring that into your work and where that fits in here at the Boys and Girls Club?
Well, I think that, first and foremost, a lot of the kids are coming from completely different backgrounds, and we at this Boys and Girls Club and at West End House and at many other Boys and Girls Clubs that I've been to, I noticed that there is just a very diverse group of kids, and and so I think with songwriting, the main thing, and with writing in general, is you want to pull from personal experience. So because I have kids from such different backgrounds, it's they want to write about experiences that they've had that maybe sometimes deal with race or gender or sex or just anything under that umbrella. And coming from my background as a Muslim Iranian first generation American, that is something that I can really relate to, and I think that the kids appreciate having someone that can also relate to the same things. And so I just try to have those conversations as much as I can because I can tell that that's something they're interested in, and the more that we talk about it, the more open they are to writing songs about it and writing music about it, which is really great because we don't have a lot of music like that. So the social justice songs are more things that I'll write if I'm in in the studio with a kid. They're talking to me about something they experienced at school, maybe some kind of microaggression or some kind of injustice that they experienced, and I'm oh man, that sucks, I'm really sorry. And they're yeah, but I don't really know what to do about it. And I'm well, have you tried writing about it? And then then it just snowballs from there. But with the song that I showed you before, that was something that came out of a kid in my songwriting program who really wanted to write something about Black History Month and about acceptance and everything. So that was kind of the first time that something like that came out of a songwriting program. But most of the time, the social justice stuff comes out of just hanging out with the kids and getting to know them and getting to know what they're into. So
it seems like it's a personal means of connection.
It is, yeah. I mean, because also a lot of the time that's not something that you really want to write about in a group setting,
right? Because
it's not something that everyone is super open about, and it's still really taboo, even though it shouldn't be. But so I don't think the kids feel super comfortable writing about that in a group setting yet. I mean, now that we've written that song for Black History Month, maybe they'll be more open to talking about those things. But right now, it's more of a personal thing. So
when the kids were bringing up the idea of writing a song about Black History Month, what was that conversation? What prompted it, and how did you, as the adult in the room, kind of guide the conversation into channeling it creatively?
Yeah, I mean, I was just running my songwriting program like I usually do, and one of my youth was just kind of usually what I do at the beginning of my songwriting program is I will just be okay, I want everyone to just go around and tell me how they're feeling and tell me what's on their mind today, and if there's anything specifically that you would really want to write a song about. And the first student or youth that I had in that program was just kind of well, I've been thinking a lot about Black History Month, and we've been learning about it at school a lot, and I feel it'd be really, really cool if we could bring that up in a song, and he was because I don't really hear a lot of music about it. And I was that's a great idea. And everybody else, all the other kids in the program kind of agreed as well. And then from there, I just put all the kids into groups, and I was just like, all right, write whatever comes to mind, just about Black History Month, about peace, about acceptance, about diversity. And it just kind of went from there. But we didn't really have like a long conversation about Black History Month. I mean,
seems like that's something that would organically happen like down the road.
Yeah, I mean, when he brought up the idea of wanting to write a song about Black History Month, he was talking about his own thoughts about it and his own opinions about it, and was just kind of like, I think it's kind of crazy that it's during the shortest month of the year, and that African Americans are treated unfairly and everything. And there was just like a general consensus of like, we all agree and like we want to write a song and make a change about this. So, and I was very pleasantly like not surprised, because I know that the kids really like, they think about that stuff a lot, but I guess I was just very impressed that they wanted to write a song about something like that rather than like, just like a pop song.
Yeah, do you feel like a certain responsibility, like when a kid brings something up like that, it's almost like you're igniting the fire in them, like you're giving them a platform?
I get like really excited. I'm not gonna lie. I get like so excited because I'm like, oh my God, teaching moment. But like, I get like super excited, and I always like, yes, like a fire is ignited, and I try to keep it lit as long as possible.
Is that super unique to like this setting though, this after school music setting versus like a school setting? Or
I think so, because I mean, when you're in a school, obviously it's stricter because like there are like specific things that you have to do because you're getting a grade, and like you have to complete these assignments, like it's school. But there are less rules here, and there are less like things that we have to do. So so I think that the kids feel freer here, and there's just a lot more room for them to explore all of the different topics that they want to explore, because there aren't as many rules. So,
and it seems like they're more open to doing that here too. Like they're volunteering their ideas, or they're more or less like they're here like learning specifically about something, but they're more here to like voice their opinion and kind of like talk out their feelings and opinions on things. Yeah,
I think so. Yeah, I mean, they definitely are just like really, really into, I mean, I've noticed that they're really into just sharing their opinions about like what's going on in the world and about social justice, and they really, really, really want to make a change, and they really believe that they can too, and that is really inspiring to me, I think.
Are you noticing youth picking up on the news, like things in the news, things on Twitter? Like, you're noticing, and some of that stuff is like pretty heavy stuff. Like some of the stuff we see in the headlines, especially lately, is pretty heavy and pretty like can be uncomfortable sometimes to like have conversations with kids. But are you noticing kids bringing things like that up, and how do you like go about just talking about it? And
I mean like all of the youth here have like phones and stuff, and a lot of them have Twitter as well. And if they don't have Twitter, like if you have a phone, you can like figure pretty much anything out. So I mean like I have had many moments where a kid will come up to me and be like, oh, did you like see this thing? And then like show me their phone, and I'm like, oh yeah. And like I had a kid like come up to me and be like, do you know if the government is still shut down? Because I'm like really worried.
Wow.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, like you're fine. Like don't worry about it. But like, but like there are kids that will come up to me and be like, did you hear about this thing? Like I'm really, really worried. Like what should we do? And they come up to us and they're like, what do you think we should do? Because they hold us to a very high standard, and they really believe that like we have all the answers and that like we can help and everything. And I'm always just like, listen, I I don't know what's going on. I don't know how we can fix it, but I do know that if you want to make a change, you should try as much as possible to educate yourself and to educate other people and to talk about it as much as you can. Because, like, you know, most of the reason why we have most of the problems in the world is because we don't talk about it enough, and there isn't enough attention surrounding those topics. So yeah.
Do you think like having the conversations, like you talked about personal one-on-one connection setting and then versus like a group setting, do you think those personal sessions lead up to a kid being more confident voicing their opinion in a more like public or group setting in front of people?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, especially when they're talking to an adult about it, because, you know, when you talk to an adult about something, you're just kind of like, oh, well, I had that conversation with someone who's a lot older than me, so that must mean that I can have this conversation with anyone, you know? And so I definitely think it's really, really important. And I definitely think that they do feel a lot more comfortable after they have those conversations. And
do you think,
you know
like,
what I mean?
are there things that you learned either like at Westside House or on the job here that kind of guided how you have those conversations, or how, like, with that in mind, with that you're like trying to build up a young person into being a more confident, more comfortable voicing their opinions? Are there things that you learned to sort of like cultivate that and do that better? Because I feel like that's really hard.
I mean, like, one thing I've learned is don't like immediately shut down an idea that a kid has, even if it's something that you don't necessarily agree with. Like, I had a conversation with a teen recently who didn't understand the concept of feminism, and she thought she thought it was like, you know, women hating men, and like, you know, just like that, you know, basically that's what she thought it was.
Right.
And so instead, one thing I've learned is, instead of immediately being like, you're wrong, like, and this is why you're wrong, da-da-da-da-da, be like, well, can you tell me why you think that? Like, what have you experienced and what have you seen in the news or on social media that has caused you to make that idea in your head about what feminism is? And I listened to her, and she was just kind of like, well, I see a lot of like crazy people on Twitter who are just like bashing men all the time and like all this stuff and everything. And then we had a conversation about, you know, then out of that came a conversation, and I was like, well, I was talking about the history of feminism with her, and you know, all the different intersections that it impacts and everything. And, you know, then after the conversation, she was like, she didn't completely understand, but she was like, I don't completely understand, and I don't know if I completely agree, but I will say that you opened up a new perspective to me.
Totally.
Yeah. And so I was like, you know what, even if you don't agree with me, and even if you don't fully understand, the fact that I introduced a whole new idea to you is enough, you know?
Yeah, that's something that I had to learn like really quick. Like, you might have a conversation with a kid and you're not in that conversation gonna either like change their mind or like prove a point to them necessarily. They kind of have to like take the ideas and go like out in the world with them and live with them, and like being okay with that. Like, you're not like changing this one kid in this one session, but you're like moving that goalpost a little further down.
Yeah, and it's important to also like you know, make them feel comfortable with talking about that with you, because if you like immediately shut down that idea, then they'll be like, okay, you know what, I'm never bringing up this subject around Sada anymore, because she's just gonna like shut it down and she's not even gonna listen to what I have to say about it. And then like, who knows, then they'll develop more ideas about that subject that, you know, and so,
or ideas about people who disagree with them on that subject. So it's like almost like teaching them how to like respectfully disagree and
respectfully
debate
disagree,
things and hear other ideas.
Yes, for
because
sure.
that's a huge issue too. Obviously, with social media, you get into like a bubble of listening to people who have all the same opinions and same ideas. Whereas if you're having conversations with kids like this, where like you can have different points and disagree, but you can actually feel comfortable talking about it, that's pretty huge.
Yeah. Word.
Do you feel like a certain sense of responsibility, like as a youth development professional, like as an after school music teacher in that? Because this goes way beyond music too, when you think about it.
Yeah, I do, for sure. I mean, like I mentioned before, like a lot of the kids coming here, either we're their second family or we are their family, because a lot of them don't have the most amazing home situation. And so that is something that I think about like every day. Even when I'm not at work, that's something that I think about, because I know that when I'm not at work, there might be a kid that is thinking or waiting for the day that they get to come back to Waltham Boys and Girls Club so they can come to the music studio and like, you know, talk to the staff and everything. So I definitely know that is a huge responsibility, and I try to take as much what am I trying to say? Like, I try to,
because you talk about it being on your mind, like even when you're not at work.
Yeah, even when I'm not at work. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because like, you know, we are like really big role models for the kids. Like, you know, especially for the kids that like really want to do music when they get older. Like, I completely recognize the fact that they really look up to me and the other staff that work here, because, you know, they want to be us when they grow up, you know? And so it's really important to think about that constantly. And
that's why your artist side is so important, though.
Yeah.
Do you think that, because a lot of people talking about like this whole teaching artist thing, like that gets thrown around a lot. Do you think like that's almost like vital in this career path? Because you could come here and teach all day, but what if you don't go home and like practice your art in reality? Like, does that have an impact on your teaching?
Yeah, I think it does, because also if you don't really work on your art and you're here all day, and like, you know, working with kids can be draining sometimes. I mean, it's really fun in the moment, but then you come home and you're drained. So it's like you have to find the time for yourself and find the time for your art so that you can come back and be energized for the kids, you know? Right. Like, you don't want to come to work feeling drained because you didn't put in the time to actually take care of yourself and your art, you know? So yeah.
And they see it too.
Yeah.
Do the kids like know about your music and stuff, and like have they seen videos of your shows?
They
Or are you trying
my Spotify.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, they did.
No, but that's really cool for a kid, I think. You're like, oh, this is the person I learned music with, and like here's their Spotify.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, I mean, they like, one of the first questions that a kid asked me when I like my first week here was, "Do you have music out?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he goes, "Where is it? Like, what do I have to look up?" And I was like, "Just my name." And then he looked it up, and the next day he was like, "So I listened to your entire discography."
Oh my gosh.
And he was like, "I have a couple pointers actually."
Wow.
But no, he was kidding, or maybe he wasn't, who knows. But
that like opens a door for connection.
Yeah, exactly. And like, it's cool for them to see that, like, you know, someone that they look up to and someone that they see every day after school is like, you know, working on stuff too, and
really doing it.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. Any advice to like fellow teaching artists out there
Here's what I have to say to you: just be spontaneous. Be spontaneous. Just, you know, let it go. Because here's the thing, if you're going to tell kids that they have to do this thing, and if they don't do this thing, then they can't be in here, then they're just never going to come back to the music studio, like, ever again. So you have to be willing to compromise. Like, you know, if a kid wants to, I don't know, write a song about this thing, but it's not necessarily the most appropriate thing, but maybe you know of a subject that is close to that subject that is appropriate, you can be like, why don't we write about this instead, you know?
Yeah.
So that wasn't really a great example, but like, you know what I mean?
But I think like 9 times out of 10 that probably works.
Yeah.
You can find some level of compromise.
Yeah, for sure.
Or even like we were talking earlier, and you were like, the kid doesn't want to play guitar, but hey, there's a piano. You can point out all the other instruments in the room.
Yeah, exactly.
And usually they latch onto something. So what do you think? Do you think your after school music program is a place where kids feel comfortable talking about these sorts of issues? These can be really difficult conversations to have, but clearly music is an outlet for voicing opinions on these topics. And as an after school music teacher, there's an opportunity to sort of guide young voices and help them develop their own opinions and ideas. If you're interested in connecting with Sarah or myself, you can join the Music Impact Network on Facebook. Let us know if you have creative ways of tackling social justice topics with youth in after-school music programs in a comment down below. Thanks for tuning in to the Music Impact Network. Have a good one.